Hey guys, James here with Waterford Business Solutions. And as we come to the close of 2024, it's time to start making those last minute kind of end of year tax changes and everything that we want to start considering. We've talked a little bit throughout the past month about different types of retirement accounts and different types of accounts that you could use to defer or save money on taxes. This time I wanted to talk a little bit about traditional and Roth IRAs. Both of these are very, very useful retirement accounts that most anyone can utilize there depending on your income level. Both have different tax advantages and disadvantages depending on how you need to or want to use them. So they are very important to understand. The biggest benefit to a traditional or Roth IRA over any of the other retirement accounts that we've talked about is those you have until April 15th to make your final contribution. So you're not even today in a rush to make that final contribution because you can work on your taxes over the next kind of month, 2 months, even into February there as you get all your documents and figure out what your actual tax liability is, and then make the best decision for you on how much to invest into your tax return here, or into, your Roth or traditional IRA to affect those accounts there and give you a tax advantage. Now let's start with talking about the different advantages and disadvantages to these two accounts. With a traditional IRA is considered a deferred tax account. With that traditional IRA, what you're doing is you're taking whatever money you put into it today and you are deferring the tax liability on that account to the future. Whenever you can go ahead and pull that money out. When you go ahead and do that deferred taxation, it will save you whatever percentage or whatever bracket of taxes you would fall into there of the money that you put into that traditional IRA on your 2024 tax return. However, when you go to pull that money out, that money is going to sit invested for 5, 10, 20, 30, maybe even 40 years depending on how old you are, how long you are going to stay invested in the market, when you're planning on retiring. So that money is going to stay invested for a long time. And while that money is invested, it's going to grow. It's going to gain basically additional funds for you to retire on. The whole point of investing in retirement is so that you can put in a little bit now, but over the next however many years you have until retirement, you're able to grow that money to become larger and have a bigger nest egg to retire on. So it's a great function to work on, and it's a great function to look at. But with the traditional IRA, as you're growing those funds, as you're moving along there, when you take all that money out or when you start taking draws from that retirement account, it's going to tax all the money that is pulled out. So that initial principal you put in, along with any gains that it has had. So you're going to still pay taxes on a traditional IRA. You're just going to pay taxes on a traditional IRA at a later date. The goal of putting money into a traditional IRA is that, in theory, you will be in a lower tax rate come retirement, and so you're not paying as much in taxes on that. So if you're currently in the 10, 12, even probably the 22 or 24% tax brackets, traditional IRAs may not make the most sense for you because you're not in super high tax brackets. The 22, 24, those are an iffy area depending on how much money that you need or you feel you're going to need a year to retire on. The important thing to consider when you're looking at retirement, as stated before, is going to be talking with a money advisor, an investment person who can walk you through and discuss what are going to be your needs in the years that you retire, how much you're going to need to be able to live off of in those years, so that we can then determine what your tax income or taxable income may look like during retirement there. If you're currently in the 22% bracket, and you're going to be in the 22-24% bracket in retirement, there's no tax savings in using a traditional IRA because you're just basically deferring that tax for when you have more money in there. It's, again, nothing wrong with that. You're at least not paying the taxes today, but there's definitely smarter options if you're going to be in a similar or higher tax bracket in retirement than where you are today. Where that benefit comes in is going to be a Roth IRA. With a Roth IRA, while you may be paying taxes on it today, you don't have any tax savings today, you don't pay taxes on that or any of the gains that it has while invested. So if you're currently in the 10 or 12% bracket and you've got money that you can put into an IRA, putting it into a Roth could be very smart if you're likely to be in a 22-24% bracket as we go into your retirement years. Because now you're paying less money on all those funds that you swindled or squirreled away to save over the years, and you've got all those gains that you would still have had in a traditional IRA, but you're not paying taxes on any of those gains. So you're paying much, much less in taxes. So it's super important when deciding on traditional versus Roth to understand your current tax position, along with understanding where you're going to be looking at and where you're going in retirement for a tax position there. Both of those are going to have big impacts on what is the smartest or best option for you. I always recommend that clients talk with not just an accountant, not just a CPA to come up with a retirement plan and a tax saving strategy, but also a money manager, an investment broker, someone who knows the markets and who is familiar with setting up these accounts and planning for retirement with clients. Those can have big, big benefits and big swings for you. And generally, it's not super pricey to get a good plan in place there. Another important thing to keep in mind with IRAs, both traditional and Roth, is the limit of which you can put in, or the limit in the amount of money that you can put in a given year. For 2024, if you're under the age of 50, you can put in a maximum of $7,000 combined into those accounts. So you couldn't do $7,000 into a traditional and $7,000 into a Roth. Both accounts, the max contribution combined would be $7,000. So you could do $3,500 and $3,500. You could do $4,000 and $3,000. You could do $6,000 and $1,000. However you want to do it, but combined you could not exceed a $7,000 contribution in those types of accounts if you are under the age of 50. If you're over the age of 50, you do have what's called a catch-up contribution, which is an additional $1,000 for 2024. That's the important thing to keep in mind. These limits change each and every year. So for 24, if you're over the age of 50, you have a maximum of $8,000 that you could put into a traditional and or Roth IRA there. The other thing to keep in mind, and the one that I see overlooked most often, is that you may be ineligible to contribute to a traditional or Roth IRA depending on your level of income and if you're covered by a retirement plan at work. If you're covered by a retirement plan at work, it may eliminate you from being able to contribute to a Roth IRA. For example, if you're a single filer and you file single or head of household in 2024 and you make over $87,000 and you're covered by a retirement plan at work, that doesn't mean you participate. That just means that you are covered, you've got the option to participate in a retirement plan at work. If you make more than $87,000, you cannot contribute to either a traditional or Roth IRA. You will need to, when you file your taxes, they'll tell you you've got to pull this money out or you're going to get penalty taxes on the money that you've put in there. If you're married filing jointly and you are covered by a retirement plan at work, again, not just that you participate, but if you've got the option to participate. If you make more than $143,000, you're not going to be able to contribute to a traditional or Roth IRA. There's also areas in between there where the deduction gets limited. So for married individuals between 123 and 143, 123,000 and 143,000, if you're covered by a retirement plan at work, you will have a reduced amount that you can put into a traditional or Roth IRA. And even if you aren't covered by a retirement plan at work, but if your spouse is covered by a retirement plan at work, there can be areas where you aren't allowed to contribute still. Now, this is a much, much higher area or a much, much higher threshold to hit, but it is still a decent differential here. If you are married filing jointly and your combined total household income is $230,000 or less, and your spouse is covered by a retirement plan at work, but not you, you can still put in the full amount. However, if your combined household income is over $240,000, then you will not be able to contribute anything, even though you aren't covered by a retirement plan at work, due to your spouse being covered by a retirement plan at work. So it is super important to make sure when we're talking about any type of retirement accounts that you fully understand your entire scope of everything going on and everything that you are working with there. And again, that's why it's important to bring in a retirement advisor, an investment advisor, and an accountant to work with you when you're in those higher areas. If you're in lower sub 100,000 area brackets, it's not quite as big of a deal there because there's less regulations and rules there. And so it's really easy to do a lot of things on your own and to use TurboTax or H&R Block to help you finish everything off there. But if you are in those higher $150,000 areas and you're married, it can lead to some differences in what's allowed for you versus others in the tax code. So always super important to keep all that in mind there. The final thing to keep in mind with any type of retirement account is going to be the age at which you can start drawing. For Roth IRAs, once you turn 59 and a half, you must start drawing out of that IRA account. That is a requirement. You can't defer it any longer, but you also can't start drawing before 59 and a half. If you start drawing money and you do not fall under an exemption, which I'm not going to dive deep into those, I can always do a video in future, but if you don't fall under an exemption there, you're going to be taxed on the money that you withdrew as normal income, along with having a 10% additional tax penalty on top of that income tax already. So fairly hefty fine for withdrawing early, which is again why we want to make sure we're making smart decisions on your finances so that you are planned correctly out. For a traditional IRA, it's very similar. You can't withdraw prior to 59 and a half, otherwise you're going to pay both the income taxes and a 10% penalty on it. But you don't have to start drawing at 59 and a half. You can let the account continue to grow until you reach the age of 73, when you will then be required to start taking RMDs, or required minimum distributions. These are important dates, or important things to keep in mind, and again, why it's important to make sure that you talk with accountants and financial planners to help you out here so that you can make sure that you're making the smartest decision for you today, but also planning for your life 10, 15, 30, 40 years down the road when it's really hard to think about that. If you need more assistance or if you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to us here at Waterford Business Solutions, and we're happy to work with you on discussing how retirement can affect your taxes. You can reach us at either 864-351-0852 or shoot us an email at info@Waterford Business Solutions. While we can't help you with the physical investments, we're happy to help you with the tax side of everything and refer you out to multiple investment partners that we have that have had great success with our clients in helping them plan for their future. I invite you please to go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel here and like and subscribe this video, along with leaving any comments that you have. It really helps us to broaden our reach and show others out there. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day.